All right, you should be good.
Thank you. Welcome and good morning, everyone. I call to order the Kansas Corporation Commission business meeting for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. I'm Susan Duffy. I'm serving as chair of the Kansas Corporation Commission, and I am joined by my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Dwight Keene and Commissioner Andrew French. On today's agenda, we have 15 consent items, 3 noticed items, and our annual organizational meeting. So, commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments? And I will begin with Commissioner Keene.
None for me, thank you.
And Commissioner French.
No questions. I'd move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. The consent agenda is adopted. Our first noticed item is docket number 20GIMT 086 GIT in the matter of an investigation to determine the assessment rate for the 24th year of the Kansas Universal Service Fund effective March 1, 2020. And this is an order on pro rata reductions in KUSF as mandated by KSA 662008E. And our presenter is Mr. Brian Fedotin. Good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you. On October 22nd, staff advised the commission that it expects the $30 million statutory cap on annual KUSF support to RLEX to be reached with respect to the monthly disbursements for February 2021. Therefore, staff recommended imposing pro rata reductions to each RLEX KUSF support for the months of January and February 2021. Staff proposes giving each RLEC the opportunity to elect a one-time reduction to its February disbursement if it preferred. The commission held an evidentiary hearing on December 7th. At the hearing, staff presented Ms. Reams for cross-examination, but the RLEX declined to ask her a single question. The RLEX presented Mr. Meredith, who was cross-examined by the commissioners and staff. At the evidentiary hearing, counsel for the RLEX framed the issue before the commission as whether the reductions mandated by the statute contravene the RLEX rights under traditional rate of return regulation with cost recovery and cost recovery as carriers of last resorts. In both instances, the RLEX are explicitly asking the commission to disregard KSA 662008E. The question of whether that statute is constitutional or lawful is not before the commission. The RLEX maintain they cannot earn a reasonable rate of return under the statutory cap. Those concerns are best addressed by the legislature, not here at the commission. The commission cannot override or ignore a statute, and here KSA 662008E imposes a clear mandate on the commission to apply pro rata support reductions to KUSF support once the cap is reached. The issue before the commission is not whether that's sound policy, but to determine whether the reductions calculated by staff are accurate. Here, the RLEX have never disputed the accuracy of staff's calculations. In fact, their expert witness, Mr. Meredith, testified that the calculations appear to be correct. And he admitted that in his testimony that the legislature can modify the KUSF and the way KUSF support is calculated. It's important to note that applying a pro rata reduction does not mean the RLEX will operate at a loss. Instead, they would experience a diminished return. Based on staff's uncontested observation that total KUSF support to the RLEX will exceed the $30 million cap, starting with the disbursement for February, the commission is obligated to impose a pro rata reduction to the RLEX annual KUSF support. The RLEX acknowledge they've never disputed the accuracy of staff's calculated reductions. Therefore, pursuant to 662008E, the commission adopts the pro rata reductions in monthly KUSF support to the RLEX as calculated in staff's report and recommendation. Each RLEC shall notify the commission by January 26th whether it intends to file or to seek a one-time reduction or spread the reduction out for over 2 months. With that, I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fidotin. Are there questions? And I'll begin with, or comments, Commissioner Keen
None from me, thank you.
and Commissioner French.
No questions or comments. I'd move approval of the order.
Second.
There is a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. The order is adopted. Thank you. Our next item is docket number 20 GIMX 393 MIS and the matter of addressing the COVID-19 pandemic in the state of Kansas. And this is an order on petition of Kansas Appleseed to intervene. Again, our presenter is General Counsel Brian Fidotin.
Yes, thank you again. On January 5th, Kansas Appleseed filed a petition to intervene, seeking to intervene because it believes it has relevant information on the issues of suspension of disconnects and other potential resources for residential consumers struggling to pay their electric bills and other utility bills, and to respond to staff's report and recommendation. On January 8th, staff filed its response, noting that Kansas Appleseed's legal interests are covered by parties already participating in the docket, namely CURB, and expressing concerns that Kansas Appleseed's recommendations would expand the scope of this docket beyond its focus. But staff did not oppose Kansas Appleseed's intervening. In this order, the commission finds and concludes that Kansas Appleseed has met the requirements of KSA 77521B and should be granted intervention. But the commission shares staff's concerns that some of Kansas Appleseed's proposed comments exceed the commission's directive to examine whether an additional suspension of disconnects is warranted. Accordingly, the commission reiterates that responses to staff's report and recommendation should focus on whether an additional suspension on disconnects is warranted. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Are there questions, starting with Commissioner French
No questions. Thank you.
and Commissioner Keen?
None from me either, thank you. I would move approval of the order.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve the order. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. The docket is adopted. Thank you.
Thank
Our
you.
next matter is docket number 21 ATMG 216 TAR and the matter of the application of Atmos Energy seeking commission approval for 2021 ad valorem tax surcharge rider tariff. This is an order approving property tax surcharge rider, and our presenter today is Mr. Cole Bailey. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. On December 15th, 2020, Atmos filed an application for approval of its 2021 ad valorem tax surcharge rider in the amount of $827,708. The amount is comprised of the portion of the 2020 ad valorem tax not included in base rates, and that amount is $891,239, and an over recovery of $63,531 during 2021. This rider will be collected from February 2021 to January 2022, and the average residential customer will have a surcharge of approximately 29 cents per month, and that totals approximately $3.52 for the year. This is a reduction from last year's surcharge of 46 cents, which was approximately 75 cents per month. Staff recommends approval or adoption of the proposed order, and I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there questions? Commissioner French
No questions. Thank you.
and Commissioner Keen?
No questions. I have one very brief comment. I appreciate your Tracy call of the order. I think it is interesting that year over year, these are state assessed properties by property valuation. So I think it's interesting that year over year there was a decrease, there was a decline. I just offer that as an observation. I think that's interesting. No further comments from me. I would move approval of the order.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve the order. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. The order is approved. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. At this point in time, in the commission bylaws, it is under Article 8, it requires that on the Thursday following the second Monday of January of each year, the commission shall hold an organizational meeting in the commission's Topeka office immediately following the regularly scheduled business meeting. During the organizational meeting, the commission shall, and there are 5 items that we must approve and take action on. And so at this time, I would begin with our first item, which is the review and approval of the schedule of the commission meetings for the current calendar year. And that would be for 2021. Are there any comments or questions? And I'll begin with Commissioner French.
No questions or comments on the schedule of meetings.
And Commissioner Keen.
No questions either. One very brief comment. I know it takes a lot of people to bake this particular piece of cake and kind of put it frankly into the form of one document on an 8.5 by 11 page. And I know that we're all 3 of us are grateful for all the effort that's involved in putting that together. Having said that, I would move the approval of our calendar for 2021.
And I'll second that.
There is a motion and a second to approve the calendar for 2021. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. The calendar is adopted. And yes, thank you, Sally, for all your hard work. Our second item is the review of the bylaws. And commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review I would call them minor changes, maybe better wording, less wordiness. And are there any comments or questions that you have at this time? And Executive Director Lynn Retz is available to respond to those. And I'll begin with Commissioner Keen.
I have a whole slew of really tough questions for you, Lynn. No, none really.
I'm ready.
Well, I'm not ready to ask hard questions because I agree with Chair Duffy. In a sense, these are somewhat ministerial and relatively minor, although this is the 3rd time since I've been on the commission. This is the 3rd incarnation of these bylaws since I've been on the commission. I think I can say with some confidence that each succeeding incarnation has been better than the previous one. And I think that that's true in this case. I think the changes we have this year, although not as monumental as some of the changes in prior years, it brings about some clarity in terms of job responsibilities. It brings some clarity and pragmatism, honestly, to the budget process and the changes we've made in refining that. And I think it is it's an improvement. And I appreciate Lynn's efforts and the efforts of my fellow commissioners in reviewing the bylaws and proffering these changes. Thank you.
And Commissioner French, any comments or questions, please?
Only comment would be a big thank you to Lynn and the other staff members that looked at these. I agree. It's primarily cleanup and alignment with current practices, and maybe making some tweaks based on experience. But yeah, not major changes, but I think continued improvement and refinement of the bylaws. So with that comment, I would move approval of the bylaws subject to any further discussion.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve the bylaws. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. The updates to the bylaws are passed. Okay. Our next item is the review the fiscal year to date budget report. And I will turn the discussion over to Mr. Parker.
I don't see Bob on.
I do not either. So Lynn, you would like to intercede on his behalf?
Yeah, so I think each of you have been provided where we are mid-year with our expenditures in relation to our budget. Right now, we're on track with everything, kind of where we had projected to be. No surprises so far, knock on wood. We have received some COVID funding, which was used to help get people to be able to work remotely. As you all know, we took the funds for the COVID-19 and put that into laptops so that we could activate more staff to be remote to continue operations. So that was the only really significant change from our budget to where we are today.
Very good. Are there any questions or comments, starting with Commissioner Keen?
No questions at all, but again, in line with the observations of my fellow commissioners and the last observation that Commissioner French made. Thank you, Lynn, and thanks to our staff for taking the endeavor of going through this budget process seriously. And thanks to my fellow commissioners. It hasn't been that many years ago that this was the function of the chair. Now it's the function of the commission, and that's a big deal. And I thank you for your involvement in getting in the weeds and the details of our budget. Obviously, it's very important. Thank you for Lynn for serving as the person around which this kind of coalesces. There was the word. And we're really seriously grateful to you, Lynn, for all of the many efforts that you've expended in bringing these budgets to fruition each year. It's a huge undertaking. Thanks to you for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Commissioner French?
Yeah, I agree with all that. My only question to Lynn would be whether, I don't think we do, but do we need any sort of action or approval on the mid-year budget review, or is it purely a review?
It's just purely a review.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I would agree. We're midway through. We're in good shape. Commodities are down. That's to be expected as we're in the middle of COVID. We don't anticipate at this point, I don't believe any reductions by the legislature in our current year budget. So, but that will be, I mean, there's not been any discussion of that. So that's more of a wait and see. Thank you, everyone. Our next item is the review and approval of an updated commission organizational chart. And I have here with us Mr. Dennis Pierenboom, our HR director. Good morning.
Good morning. I think you should have all received copies of the latest and updated organizational chart. So those should be accurate as of today. So
yes.
We eliminated a lot of the temporary part-time positions we had previously. I don't think we're going to use those again. If we do need to, we can always reactivate those positions.
Okay.
I would say, Madam Chair, here, the only significant change to the org chart was within the Division of Utilities when we did make a shift earlier over the summer, fall. Everything runs together these days for me, so sorry. But there were a couple of positions that had been under economic and rates, and the tasks that they were performing were more in line with the account and finance section. So we did realign some of the utility staff so that the work that they were performing became more aligned with the section that they reported to. So that's the only significant change, actually the only change to the org charts from last year.
Thank you, Lynn, for that reminder of what did occur. And I will point out that every position is so extremely valuable here. And when a position becomes vacant, we just don't fill it. We review it for its efficacy and ensuring that we are spending funds wisely. So, and I know that occurs, so I appreciate all that. Do I have any other questions or comments by fellow commissioners, starting with Commissioner Keen?
One question and one brief comment. Dennis, as of the present time, do you know off the top of your head roughly, out of the total number of FTEs that we have, how many vacancies do we have commission-wide?
We have right now probably about 35 vacant positions, I would guess, currently right now within the agency. So some of those are, I don't know if those are positions, or I think they're being looked at again to see if those are positions that we truly need. And right now we have 7 positions we're currently recruiting for, and 2 or 3 that have just closed. We're doing interviews for those in the next week or so. So we are trying to get a handle on getting some of those vacancies filled out.
Are those vacancies somewhat scattered throughout the divisions?
Yes.
All right. My comment is my thanks to you, Dennis, for your oversight of our HR functions. We're really grateful to you for all that you do there, and are really thankful that you're on board. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And Commissioner French, comments or questions?
Commissioner King covered my only area of inquiry, so I will just extend my thanks as well to you, Dennis, and we do need to work on getting those positions filled and filled with good, competent professionals. But I know we're making progress, so thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the org chart?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve the updated commission organizational chart. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. The motion passes. The chart is updated and approved. So finally, we come to the last item on today's agenda, and that's the election of a new chairperson. So over the last several commission administrations, it has been the policy to rotate the chairmanship. And I would like to say that it has been interesting to operate in this environment for practically the entire last year, a COVID environment. I have leaned heavily on Lynn Retz and the division directors for assuring us as commissioners that the day-to-day work, the work of the commission, the visioning out and dealing with what comes walking in that door every day electronically is dealt with regardless of where we find ourselves physically situated, either at home or at the office or split. This has been an extraordinarily difficult year. However, I would have to say that we did not miss a beat due to the foresight of Lynn. We were able to secure the necessary computers before the siege was on and others were waiting. We were really able to provide the necessary computers to our staff to work safely from home. This could not have been possible without the IT staff working night and day to get those ready to send them with staff, regardless of if you were in Wichita or here in Topeka or another office. The burden of ensuring that our office attends to the day-to-day work really falls on the executive director. And I would have to say that she has performed extraordinarily well during this time of crisis, and it is continued crisis. I would also like to thank Sally for being her second and just, again, not missing a beat, being here every day to ensure that the work of the commission is done well, not just done, but done well, and is available to the public. It is my pleasure to have worked with the division directors. Again, some of you knew, but others I've known, and know that I can rely on you. So thank you for making this as seamless and as good as it can be under the circumstances. I appreciate the efforts of the management team and especially of Lynn Retz, our executive director. With that, I will turn to Commissioner Keen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a nomination, but as a preface to that, I want to thank you personally for your service to the state. And Susan, thank you for your service during the past year as our chair. We're grateful to you for that. There's a lot of responsibilities that come along. And as you say, in terms of years, you were dealt kind of a bad hand, but you made the best of it. And we're glad for that. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
And if I could jump in before you keep moving down the line, I want to make the same comments. This was an extremely difficult year to be the head of an agency, and there was no blueprint for how you handled it. And yeah, I agree. Lynn and Sally deserve a lot of credit here, but you hand in hand with Lynn and Sally really pulled our agency through, and I think pulled us to the top, to the top of the heap. It was really strong leadership. I think everyone knew we had a strong captain at the helm this whole time. And I just want to say, aside from that, I've been very inspired by your energy. You are one of the most creative people I've met, and always thinking of new ideas of how we as an agency and as individuals can improve, and that is inspiring. The improvement that we've seen in the agency, I think, has been really tremendous over the last year. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And Commissioner.
Chair? Yes, thank you. Pardon me, I didn't mean to talk over you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, at this time, I would nominate Commissioner Andrew French. It's a great honor for me to do this, frankly, to become the next chairman of the Kansas Corporation Commission.
I second your nomination, and I concur with your assessment of Commissioner French. So there is a motion and a second to nominate and approve Andrew French as the next chairperson of the Kansas Corporation Commission. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion passes. Congratulations, Chairman French. And the good times continue with you. So, yes.
I'll be in close communication with Lynn.
Mr. Chairman, my congratulations to you as well. I look forward to working with you in your new capacity.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Looking forward to it. And, we all know this is a three-headed monster. And so, we don't do anything without the help and review and advice of the others. And so just looking forward to a continued collegial workplace with the two of you and of course, with all of our support staff. So thank you.
I might add that I would agree the collegiality of the three commissioners here in Kansas. I don't think it's so unusual, but I think it's exceptional. Being a part of NARUC, you are aware that does not extend to all 50 states and territories. And it's sometimes painful to hear the stories. While we may agree, we may disagree, we may agree to disagree, we're still able to come together as a group and do the state's business, do the regulatory business at hand, And that is a good thing.
It's part of being a Kansan.
That's right. So at this point in time, I will turn the meeting over to you, Chairman French.
Well, I'm looking at our agenda. And I believe we have reached the end of our noticed items unless I hear otherwise from any commissioners or from Lynn. So I think at this time I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.